The Investment Banking Market Developments by Aaron Anderson, Todd Hare, Devin James, Rachel Savage, and Tyler McIntosh. So this past week, we had some equity, convertible, and debt financings. On April 13, 2012, we had Tioga Pharmaceuticals, and they closed a $10 million Series B equity financing. This company specializes in treatments for gastrointestinal diseases, whether through products and pharmacy. And they're supported by Thomas McNary and Partners, and they invested $8 million, while Genesee Capital Partners invested $2 million. And then California Grapes International, they closed a $10 million in equity from the AGS Capital Group, and this company specializes in exporting, marketing, promotions, and distribution of wine throughout all of California. And then on the convertible financing, we had Micron Technology, a famous company, and they announced the pricing of $480 million in convertible senior notes. These will be due by May 1st, 2032 at a semi-annual rate of 2.375%. This company specializes in manufacturing semiconductor devices for memory storage, especially for computers. And then we had CoolCheck Technologies on the debt financing. On April 13th, they raised $500,000 in debt, and this company manufactures low-cost, high-performance electronics cooling systems, and just recently won the first company from MIT to win the Cool Energy Green Solutions Award.
The developments in merger markets, Facebook, who will be coming out with its initial public offering in the coming weeks, purchased Instagram, a photo-sharing app maker. They paid $1 billion for the company, a price some analysts saw as high given Instagram's lack of significant revenue, though the purchase was likely more to eliminate competition than to add to Facebook's revenue. Richmont Holdings, a private equity company, is preparing a takeover offer to Avon Products. This news after Avon rejected a bid at a 20% premium from smaller rival Coty last week. Audi is looking to announce the purchase of Italian motorcycle maker Ducati to further competition with its rival BMW. And Microsoft purchased 800 patents and rights to use more patents from AOL for $1 billion. This will likely further position Microsoft in the ongoing and massive tech battle over patents. Economic conditions. It was an active week for economic news, unfortunately mostly bad. The S&P 500 ended down this week 2% and had a loss for the second week in a row, which was the first time for 2012. All 10 groups in the S&P were down. The decline was due to several factors. China's GDP growth was less than expected for the first quarter of 2012. The European debt crisis concerns returned after many believed the worst was over. Concerns over Spain and Italy's economies specifically returned, and financials were hit especially hard given the news. The U.S. job data added to the bearish news. New jobs were expected to be around 205,000 and came in at 120,000, significantly lower than anticipated. The news was not all bad, however. The Federal Reserve reassured investors that it would maintain low interest rates going forward. This fueled rallies on April 11th and 12th. Also, despite financials being hit hard on European news, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo both had earnings that beat estimates, showing the sector is stabilizing. Alcoa, which is the first company to report on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, also surprised analysts with an unexpected profit to kick off the first quarter earnings seasons.
Regulatory, accounting, and tax developments. As the Supreme Court continues to deliberate on healthcare reform, the issue of tax increases for 2013 still remains. As it stands, Medicare taxes will increase for individuals who make over $200,000 per year and families who make over $250,000, from 1.45% to 2.35% on earned income. High-income families will also begin to pay an additional 3.8% of their investment income towards Medicare. This will be the first time that investment income will be subject to Medicare tax. On Friday, April 13th, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke spoke at a conference in New York regarding regulation. He claimed that monetary policy was not nearly as much of a cause of the financial crisis as was the lack of regulatory oversight. He pointed to the Fed's stress tests of large U.S. banks and other recently implemented policies as examples of improvements. He also stated, quote, "Going forward for the Federal Reserve as well as other central banks, the promotion of financial stability must be on an equal footing with management of monetary policy as the most critical policy priorities." End quote.
Important news regarding investment banking firms or the industry. Keeping on top of the world's financial markets can be an almost 24/7 job, especially in a down economy. Investment banking isn't one specific service or function. It is an umbrella term for a range of activities: underwriting, selling, and trading securities, stocks and bonds, providing financial advisory services such as mergers and acquisitions advice, and managing assets. Investment banks offer these services to companies, governments, nonprofit institutions, and individuals. Leading banks include Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, Credit Suisse, and JP Morgan Chase. Some challenges that investment banks face are maximizing client profitability, refocusing on client needs, engaging effectively in emerging markets, and picking the right battles.
By taking a look at these financial charts with markets in the U.S., we can see that the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 are down. The Dow Jones down by negative 6.1, NASDAQ negative 0.98, and S&P 500 negative 0.81. These two weeks, the market has come down quite a bit. However, there's some lookout for next week, as many companies in the S&P 500 will be releasing their financial statements for the first quarter. By taking a look at global markets, we have two here from Europe and one from Asia. So we have FTSE 100, which is down by negative 1.19%. The DAX, which is down negative 3.5%. And the Nikkei from Japan, which is actually up this week, 0.85%. And then by taking a look at foreign currencies, we can see that the euro has gone up against the US dollar by 0.11%. The US dollar has gone down against the Japanese yen, negative 1.69%. And also the US dollar went down against the British pound by negative 0.13%. By looking at commodities, oil has gone up again by 0.76%, gold 0.89%, and natural gas, which is surprisingly becoming really cheap these past few weeks, went down negative 5.39%, and then corn as well went down negative 3.68%.
Alright, so hedge fund news. Hedge fund performance is up from last year, encouraged by a rebound in financial markets and better fund performance this year. Investors are putting more cash into hedge funds over this past month. According to hedge fund research, funds lost 5.2% last year, but in the first 3 months of this year, the average hedge fund is up 4.9%. Also, the Swiss government is proposing to tighten regulations on hedge funds, so this could make it one of the strictest countries in the world for money managers. These laws are intended to bring the country in line with the European Union's policies. Any overseas investment fund that takes money from the Swiss institution will have to comply with new requirements laid out from FINMA, the Swiss Financial Supervisory Authority. FINMA's requirements may include demands for tax and asset transparency, as well as minimum standards of governance according to the FT. Wealthy investors could be stripped of their status as qualified investors. Alright, so leveraged buyout news. The first leveraged buyout in Hong Kong since 7 years happened just this week. BBC Asia Pacific's HK will acquire City Telecom, both broadband services. JP Morgan has backed the $2.5 billion loan. The City Telecom leveraged buyout is unique and there's no direct comparable in Asia. The leverage buyout is the first in Asia for a pure-play broadband services provider, and growth prospects are very positive for the new combined company with increased market share and greater access to new technology.